Hi everybody, I'm KHOU 11 Plus meteorologist Pat Cavlin here with a look at your forecast. We're going to talk about our local weather. We're going to talk about weather across the rest of the country. And of course, we're going to give you an update on the flooding situation out in central Texas. We're going to talk about exactly how that happened and the factors that led to it, and if we could see any impacts here at home in Houston. We do have storm chances on the way here at home in southeast Texas as we go through the next few days. And I do think our higher rain chances will come in for tomorrow and for Wednesday. And we will talk more about this in depth here in just a few minutes. But let's talk about what happened in central Texas this week. They got a prolific amount of rainfall. We're talking 12 to 24 inches of rain in some of these pockets. And we call this area Flash Flood Alley. And the reason for that is twofold. One, you've got a lot of limestone out there. It's just not good at absorbing rainwater. We don't have a lot of soils out there. And so the rainfall runs through this limestone and eventually into these streams and creeks and rivers. And these rivers turn into bigger rivers, right? So we get all these kind of capillaries that fill and feed into bigger rivers. Well, what happens when you get a big batch of rain over all of those capillaries, everything starts to swell and it flows downstream. And the two big branches on the Guadalupe River are the North and the South Forks. And of course, the Guadalupe River is what has made headlines the last few days with all of those deaths through Kerr County. So we've got the North Fork and the South Fork. They both meet in Hunt. Pay attention to that. That's an important part of the story. Camp Mystic, where all of those campers and camp counselors were lost to the floods, is down here. It's on the South Fork of the Guadalupe River. And so you had all of this purple shading here that indicates rain totals over a foot. And so you've got all of this rainwater that dumped on these streams, these creeks, these capillaries, and onto the South Fork, and all of that kind of flowed into the Guadalupe. And so when you have a foot of rain falling on all of these creeks and streams, everything starts to swell rapidly, and that's what led to the flash flooding situation there in Kerr County. Now, where did it come from? All of that tropical moisture, believe it or not, came from the remnants of a tropical storm that made landfall in Mexico last week, Tropical Storm Barry. Well, when Barry fell apart, all of that moisture was still in the atmosphere. And what happened to it? Well, it ran up against the Sierra Madre Mountains here in Mexico, got pushed into Texas, and that interacted with a stationary storm complex, and it just kind of fed it. And over days and days and days, we got hyper-localized, slow-moving, prolific amounts of rainfall through central Texas, getting into the Austin area, and that is what led to all of the flooding. Now, forecasters knew that this flooding was on the way. Okay, they had an idea. The problem is we are not at the point yet in our science where we can pinpoint where flash flooding is going to happen. But we can look at the big picture and say the conditions are there to get flash flooding. We just can't tell you exactly where it's going to be until 20, 30 minutes before it starts happening. So the day before, Thursday afternoon, flash flood watch was issued. Later that evening, as more model data started to come in, the alarm bells started to go off at the National Weather Service, and they put out a special discussion about that potential for flash flooding. This is the important timestamp here, 1:14 in the morning, Friday, the 4th of July. So everyone's asleep at this point. Flash flood warning comes out, but it had a considerable tag on it. And all that means for you at home is that is the kind of warning that will trigger your cell phone emergency alerts to go off. So phones are going off in the area where they had that flash flood warning. Rain keeps coming down. 3 hours later, it gets upgraded to a flash flood emergency. Again, phones are going off. The alarm bells are ringing, and 17 minutes after that, the Guadalupe River, again at Hunt, where the two branches, the north and the south branch meet, hits major flood stage. Now, the question is, for us here in southeast Texas, where does all that rainwater go? Because we have seen instances in the past where we get a ton of rain falling across North Texas and it flows downstream and it ends up flooding some of our communities. The two rivers we're keeping an eye on are, of course, the Guadalupe River, but also the Colorado River. This hasn't gotten as much headline, but even more rain fell over the Colorado River north and west of Austin the last few days. And the reason why we're concerned about this is because all of that water flows downstream in towards the Gulf. So what is going to stop that from rushing into our communities? Each one of these rivers is kind of interrupted by a lake. You've got Canyon Lake here on the Guadalupe, you've got Lake Travis here along the Colorado River, and there are dams on the downstream side of these lakes, and it's that dam that will help to control the downstream water rise. In fact, as we look at the Colorado River at Columbus in Colorado County, notice we're at 12 feet now. We're expected to see some water rise by tomorrow afternoon at 15 feet, but that's well below the flood stage of 34 feet. And after we get past tomorrow, that water level starts to diminish getting towards the end of the week. Okay, now weather-wise, here at home, things are pretty quiet for tonight. We're partly cloudy, we're warm, we're muggy, but we're dry. Getting into tomorrow, though, we see some energy coming off the Gulf. That'll bring us higher rain chances, and I think that sticks around with another wave coming in on Wednesday, so more widespread storm chances expected. In fact, we're at an 80% rain chance for both Tuesday and Wednesday. So again, into the widespread category before we drop back to the isolated and scattered category for the end of the week and the weekend. So there's Future Track Tuesday morning. We're quiet. Late morning, though, storms begin to blow up at the coast and they move inland. It's a pretty typical summer pattern, but it's a little more juiced up. So I would say definitely have an umbrella tomorrow. Keep an eye on the forecast. Not expecting anything severe, and the flood risk should really just be mitigated to street flooding, some roadway ponding. That's about it. That'll die off by the evening, and then we get you into Wednesday. Wednesday morning starts quiet. Again, a lot of clouds out there. But yet again, by the afternoon, we'll see storms blow up across the area in a widespread fashion before we wind things down getting into the evening. In the tropics, things are quiet. We had Tropical Storm Chantal. That made landfall here in South Carolina, caused some flooding through North Carolina yesterday. That has since started to fall apart. But now beyond that, we're not expecting any new development as we go through the next 7 days. So if you're traveling up into the Northeast tomorrow, hot weather expected, 90s from Boston down through Virginia. Could see some showers and storms again with the remnant moisture from Chantal moving through the Northeast, but all in all, not looking like a bad travel forecast. Southeast, pretty typical summer weather. A couple isolated scattered showers and storms. Temperatures range from the low to mid 90s. Cooler spots down in South Florida. Of course, a lot of humidity, but we'll do 89 with mainly sunny skies for Miami. Getting into the state of Texas, conditions, again, a lot drier for places like Austin, into the hill country, maybe an isolated storm chance for San Antonio. We will see the best rain chances here, though, in southeast Texas. Temperatures near 90 degrees, and then drier and hotter weather with triple-digit temperatures likely out towards El Paso. Farther to the north, hot weather again, St. Louis to Springfield, Garden City, Kansas, mid-90s. Even up towards South Dakota, we could see low 90s. A couple clouds out towards Chicagoland. Overall, though, should be mainly dry, maybe an early shower or storm, and then stormy weather through St. Louis. Southwest looks great. This is going to be the place to be for tomorrow. Near 80 with sunshine in San Francisco, mid-70s for LA with some morning fog. 109 in Vegas, a lot of sunshine there. 113 for Phoenix, and mid-90s out in Denver. Close to 100 degrees for Salt Lake City as well. And finally, up into the Pacific Northwest, more dry, sunny, but also hot weather. 102 for Boise, Idaho, 83 Seattle, 97 Medford, mid-90s for Spokane. Get a lot of sunshine across the board. For us here at home through the overnight, we will start to dry things out. I would say in the next few hours, 77 will do it for your low temperature. Getting into Tuesday, widespread storms are in the forecast late morning all the way through the early evening hours. Upper 80s to low 90s will do it for your high temperatures. We'll do it again heading into Wednesday. So again, widespread storm chances for both Tuesday and Wednesday. Then down to scattered possibilities for your Thursday, 92 your high temperature. Trending more isolated with, I think, some Saharan dust and haze moving into the picture for Friday. 94 your high temperatures, so a little bit warmer. Back to scattered storm chances for Saturday and Sunday, and then isolated again with hot weather building as we get into the start of next week. That's your weather impact forecast. More on the flooding in Central Texas and your weather here at home coming up on the KHOU 11 News tonight at 10.